Artificial intelligence is reinventing business as we speak. You can either get up to speed or get left behind. The choice is yours, and really, it's a no-brainer. Join Cognitive Path founders Geoff Livingston and Greg Verdino as they chat with AI experts about the latest ideas, trends, and technologies that are creating the future of business today. This is No Brainer.
Hey, this is Greg Verdino. Welcome back to No Brainer, an AI podcast for business. I am here as usual with my good friend, my buddy, my evil twin, my doppelganger, Geoffrey Livingston. How are you, Jeff?
Very good, my friend. How are you? We're really in summer now. It's getting quite hot.
It is. It was cold and dreary just a day or so ago, and today it's going to be 70-something, and I think next week they're pretending at least we're going to get 100-degree weather here in New York. That's pretty brutal.
That's actually worse than here in Virginia. So
Wow.
I don't know what you did up there, but
I don't know. Deal with the devil, literally.
you can have it.
And we'll take it. It's better than dreary and rainy. Welcome back, everybody, again. Before we dive in, we have an interesting conversation today. But before we do, as always, if you are watching us on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, so you'll get updates every time we release a new episode. And if you are listening to us anywhere you choose to listen to podcasts, again, the same deal. Follow the channel. Be sure to like the episode. Be sure to share with your friends and your loved ones, of course, especially those loved ones. And if you have any comments, questions, things like that, we'll take them in the comments, or you can always email us through the website at nobrainerpodcast.com. Jeff, why don't we dive right in? Who do we have with us today?
Well, today we have somebody that's kind of associated with me in that very Kevin Bacon way, only 2 degrees, Carson Hostetter, who actually works with a buddy of mine from my old DC days. We'll leave Ian's last name out of this, but we both know Ian. So I feel like normally Carson would be a guest on this show anyway, but on top of that, we're fortunate enough to have his company RingCentral sponsor us for this episode, and they are an AI-genic company dealing particularly with call centers, but they have deeper technology waves in that, and Carson's a GM there. We're really lucky to have him, so we're going to get some of that top-down executive tech company insights, and we're going to have a really hardcore conversation about agentic AI. Carson, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Some of my near Virginia roots coming out. Really excited about the conversation and where RingCentral's at and just where the space is at, and most importantly, where it's going. A lot of cool stuff happening.
Sounds good. And before we dive in deep, just for context, we know that you have your agentic AI suite, your solution, and that you guys have just launched that. Can you just tell folks how this works within the enterprise and within the larger context of the customer journey?
Yeah, so just a little bit maybe about RingCentral. We're a born in the cloud communications company, right? Like if you look at, we've been in business around 26 years. And what we've been doing for most of those years is helping people move from legacy communication systems, whether they're like these on-premise PBX solutions, kind of the old phone company and contact center solutions, to the cloud. And where we're heading, and that heritage is really important, right? Because there's lots of, just Google agentic AI. It will blow up you wouldn't Google it, right? You'd have to go to Gemini or ChatGPT.
Claude.
You got to get your Claude prompts, and Claude will, with all of that horsepower, will still come back and say, there's a gazillion companies that are doing agentic AI, and we don't know which one does what, right? So it's really important to think about RingCentral as, how do we help? We are a company that aims to help businesses communicate with their customers. Right. So if you're a doctor's office, that's with your patients. If you're part of the government, that's with your constituents, like so on and so forth. So there's all of this communication going on, and voice is still the dominant form of communication, but we also cover social, like all of these things, right? Social, text, faxing, believe it or not, back to the government, still fax. It's in the law. Nobody's changed it. It keeps going.
That's my second fax reference of the week, by the way, which just feels really bizarre in 2025.
It's unreal. And I was just talking to a customer and they're like, hey, I really need some help with faxing in Germany. I'm like, okay,
All right,
let's get on that.
Let's do it.
But like turning it a little bit to where we want to get. So think about this. So RingCentral's at the epicenter of like businesses talking to their customers. We do billions and billions of minutes of voice conversations a month. And that's across like, unified communications. Think about, you just pick up the phone and call a retail store or a dentist office, or somebody actually calls the call center for your mortgage company, right? And you go through the little IVR tree and all that stuff and get to somebody eventually. So now back to your question, promise I'm coming back to it. We got all of this stuff. Now, how does AI apply to that? Like it's not just AI out of thin air. We didn't just launch and say, you know what? We think the valuation would go up if we called ourselves agentic AI.
That would be very Silicon Valley of you, though.
Look, we're public, so I got to be careful, but they're pretty sharp, right? You got to deliver real value. So the way we look at it is, we really think the key to this whole next evolution is going to be the type of intelligence that is in our voice intelligence. I'm not trying to trademark a new term, but just think about it as we're talking, right? Yeah. Now this conversation would be completely different if we were typing on a bot, right? Or chatting or texting or something like that. And back to the whole Silicon Valley thing. How many times have you heard UI, user interface? How do we make our software slick? Oh, look how slick Apple's software is. It's so easy to use. You know what's super easy to use? Us talk. That to me is the most natural UI, whether we're on a podcast or we're on a video platform, be a video platform, a phone call, whatever. The reason we like that is our natural UI. However, Silicon Valley, I'll take some credit, has figured out ways like, man, we don't have time to talk to each other. So let's see if we can get to where people can't talk to each other. We put in IVRs where you got to hit 3 and you got to say this prompt, that prompt. You got to chat bot with people. That's because it's impossible to take all of this richness in the past and actually translate it into solving the customer's problem. So even though it's not our natural UI, we do it because my problem gets solved faster. Now with agentic AI, I can have the best of both worlds. So we take all of that richness that's in voice, right? Like the emotion of it, the nuances, even the pauses, or, when people are starting to get hot with an automated agent, and we can take that.
Crazy is that getting hot with a robot, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Get angry at you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But look, if you listen to recordings,
I can't even imagine.
You can hear all the kinds of stuff, much less the background.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, but think about that. So now I can just talk naturally to an agentic AI agent, and that can now reach across all of the knowledge of the company I'm calling. It can now answer my question. It can take actions. It can schedule an appointment for me. Or, hey, Carson's getting hot. Let me get him to the right person. And when I get him to the right person, I know what he's talking about. I've been able to look up his account maybe and pull some things together so that person is not coming in completely cold and just taking a punch to the face right off the initial get-go. So that's really the promise, right? Take all of that emotion, urgency, and intent and translate it in a way to actually solve problems for customers and their customers.
So if I were to classify the way we're seeing technology solutions come at us in the AI space, we have a lot of the startups which are very narrow in scope. Mm-hmm. Like they may have their, chat bot or their call bot, their voice bot. And then we have a lot of technology platforms that are integrating AI into their suite, such as you guys, or HubSpot, or Salesforce with its Agentforce is obviously the most well-known example. Obviously, there are different promises happening and different approaches. What's your differentiator in the way that you really see AI agents as part of that larger solution?
Yeah. So look, the company's always had an open platform philosophy, right? Meaning we have a first-class integration with Salesforce and HubSpot. with our technology today. Meaning you can be in Salesforce, you can click the call out of Salesforce. Our contact center solution has a native integration with Salesforce, so you can actually be in your Salesforce plane and use the contact center functionality. And we're going to take that same approach to the AI space. So you mentioned Agentforce. Well, RingCentral agents are going to collaborate with Agentforce.
Do you call them receptionists though? Like, do receptionists and agents get paid differently?
Well, it's different. It's actually different personas, right? So some agents, right? The Salesforce agent's going to be super focused on the data. Like Salesforce is a database of record. You know, think about all of the data that's housed in there, and it takes actions. It's not just a repository, but like really getting through there. Remember, RingCentral's more real-time communication, voice, video, texting. I'll leave out faxing, Facebook Messenger, whatever. That's how we're helping businesses communicate to their customers. So we have access to data and transcription and what customers are trying to do. Salesforce or a CRM would have like what the customer has done for all time, right? How many times they bought, what's their contract with us, like all that stuff. So imagine, hey, let's marry up. Can we get insights from what they've done in the past with what they're asking for now? Probably, depends on the situation. So Agentforce can actually help us index that really, really fast. So our AI agent can talk to the Agentforce agent and actually get a bigger bang for the buck out of the conversation for the customer. So RingCentral's philosophy is really to just be open. We kind of look, we've done well. We're fairly large company, $2.5 billion, but compared to Salesforce and Microsoft and all of these other companies, we're really small. So we know we need to fit inside of the customer's ecosystem, not just say, hey, Mr. Customer, great news. I can do anything you want as long as you do it with me. We're not that company. So we're going to collaborate with Agentforce. We're going to collaborate with Agent Space from Google. All of them have agent in the name. So I think Microsoft's is Copilot. Like we'll figure it all out.
That one's beat to death too, right? Like both agent and Copilot are becoming nothing. That's why I kind of like that you call it a receptionist. And again, like get back to that technology approach, and you give an overview of error and how that really is a little bit different than maybe the way people were thinking about or have been told it. And again, I would think most of our audience is kind of like business strategists. I don't really see a lot of them as being technologists. Yeah. So like they're probably like a lot of people, Greg, what would you say? They're probably like, when they get told something, they just don't know what to think about.
Yeah. They don't understand what they're necessarily, I wouldn't say buying, but certainly they don't always come in the door knowing what they're being pitched. And ultimately at the end of the day, they're going to look to hear, well, what is the benefit to me? How does this improve performance, let's say, of call center operations?
Yeah. So how's this tech approach different then? How is AIR different?
Yes. AIR, AI Receptionist, is a specific type of agent, right? And we've got a lot of different product names. This one is actually named as to what it does. So think of any business that you call.
Wow.
I know, like you're just not.
You have a good marketing.
It's like
not like 01 Pro.
Yeah.
Junior.
You're not actually piloting a plane, so it's not co-piloting anything. Think of any place you would call today that has a receptionist or just a store clerk or retail establishment or whatever that is. What are you calling them for, right? You're calling them for business hours, directions. Do you take my insurance? Like maybe I'm doing my first initial filter. And today businesses have to staff that with a person or send it to voicemail or send them through some routing tree that people just go, you know what, I'll just call the one that doesn't have this and I'll just hang up. So AI Receptionists make sure that none of those businesses ever miss any calls, right? So first of all, if you're running a business, if people are calling you, that's what we call a buy sign, right? They want something from you and they are considering giving your business some money. So super important call, right? But like sometimes it's a regular receptionists have to take breaks or a sick day, or maybe they quit, you have attrition problems. Like it's hard to get good people, right? So what if we always had somebody or something, I guess in this case, an AI receptionist always answering the phone, even if it's at midnight, that can answer a lot of questions, right? Business hours, directions, like anything that's on a website, anywhere for that business, we can scrape that, give that access to that receptionist so they can answer questions. So as long as it's kind of written down somewhere and we have access to it, we can now use our favorite UI, just talk through it. I don't have to hit the buttons. I don't have to go to the chat bot, go look it up on the web. Maybe I'm driving, whatever. I just want to talk to somebody. I'm talking to somebody and getting my questions answered. Yep. And then I can take the next best action, right? Do I need to really talk to somebody? Okay, now I know who you need to talk to. Maybe you don't need to talk to the person that answers the phone. Maybe you need to actually talk to the billing department, because you're not calling to make a new appointment. You're calling because, hey, I thought I was going to get $10 and I got a bill for $100. And so, okay, now we short circuit that time and put you right to the right person. And we give that person the background.
So we're talking essentially there about the kinds of thing a human receptionist would do, of course, as you said.
Absolutely.
This is a case where the product name actually tells you what the product does, which is a good thing.
That's cool, right?
If today the predominant use case is essentially take the call, right? Pick up when the customer is calling, and potentially answer questions or route that call. How do you see that technology evolving over time as maybe it comes to handle more complex interactions or more nuanced engagements with customers or prospects?
Yeah. So like in the short term, right, there's going to be a great expansion on languages, translation capability, those types of things, right? So back to like, again,
and everything. Yeah.
Not trying to say humans are going to be obsolete or anything. It's not like that type of podcast. We're not going dystopian.
Well,
however,
we've done that
we're not on
episode
CNN
already.
today.
We've done that episode.
super hard to hire a human in every language that could possibly be spoken in San Francisco. All right. Multi-language, absolutely there, being able to translate that, like these are things on the roadmap, and then taking, I would just say, bigger and bigger actions, right?
Yeah.
So right now it's informational. What would a receptionist actually tell somebody if they call and answer a bunch of questions? So tomorrow it's going to be, hey, I'm actually going to take an action. So maybe in the future, rather than transferring you to the billing department, I can pull that up and we can have a deeper conversation with the AI agent, see how far we can get to resolving the issue, or going beyond like simple calendaring of appointments and, booking follow-ups and those types of things. And, eventually, like, it's kind of open, right? Like anything that a person can talk about in a conversation, it's kind of fair game for the roadmap, right? All the way, right? So this is a start for the business. You said, hey, breaking out for the business people, like, dude, don't miss any calls and make more money, because people are calling you and they want to do business with folks that are responsive, attentive, have follow-up along the way. The other thing for business leaders is the reporting. Why are people calling? Like now you can actually get analytics about this. Why are they calling? When are they calling? How do we adjust? Maybe you go, hey, I know the answer to this. Oh, we don't have that on our website or in one of our knowledge articles. Let me put that on the website. And now the AI receptionist has access to that information. So, continue to self-improve and continuously improve is another benefit to the business owner.
So if I could pull up and out a little bit of the platform and just talk about like the general voice trend with AI and interfacing with agentic in particular, the ability to have agents. I mean, obviously this was the big promise with Apple Intelligence when that came out. And I think generally we've had a lot of conversations on this podcast about prompting and how that's basically a user interface flaw for the general public. It is, right? And how voice in many ways is probably that answer. And so what we've seen now is ChatGPT will take phone calls, and obviously you have Alexa, you can interface with that, and even Google, you can interface with Google in your car or on your phone. So how do you see voice evolving generally as the primary interface into AI, if that makes sense? Just to pull back, do you see this not just as what RingCentral is doing, but as the larger movement?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a larger movement. I think voice is going to be the hottest UI, user interface, in the future. And, for many years, it was all about how do we connect people's calls. And it was only voice as the mode of communication outside of face-to-face. Like that's kind of what it was. And then that just became overwhelming. So then we started all these other channels and all of those things. I think now that we're able to have a natural translation, like you said, like I don't have to go, all right, I'm going to call. Great. I get to talk to an agent. I can only say these 6 phrases or I'm not going to get what I want. That's part of the trick too, right? Like you got to normalize for accents, and we talked about languages, all of that stuff of what do people really mean. So there is some of that continuous improvement and machine learning of when people ask this question to a business, what do they actually mean? Like what is actually happening overall? So you'll see continuous improvement on it because it's the translation of what people are saying to what do they actually want to get, right? Like overall. So I think that's why voice is going to be that. And we'll be able to actually gain efficiency, not lose efficiency by doing that, because I'm not frustrating my customers with a bunch of prompts. I'm not doing all of this weird stuff to customers overall. I am, just working in a natural way.
Right. It does strike me too, again, tying into that larger theme. And when we first had the web and then we had social media, a lot of it was text-based. We all remember the original Twitter, now X, and the short 140 characters. And then we have Facebook, a little bit longer, and then blogs and everything else. And as time's moved on, we've transitioned to audio and video podcasts, and then obviously TikTok, YouTube, Reels. It's just amazing how much people are consuming content without reading literally text. So I do think that what you're describing is a really smart move. And I can even see it even evolving to your air receptionist and just generally agents evolving to more of that kind of, and I know I'm getting a little bit sci-fi geeky, but like that Neil Stephenson Library of Congress avatar that pops up and answers your questions. I don't know if we're going to get there, but I mean, it does strike me that we are moving towards that more talk with me, either visually or with audio rather than text-based communications. And I do think that chat bot is more the voice receptionist.
Yeah, I think certainly anything that you can do in a chat bot, you can do on the voice receptionist, on the AI receptionist, or our AIR product, right? And that's a simple use case. There's lots of people that like to interface with chat. Cool. We support that too, right? It's a mode of communication. It's all good. But there's a whole population that prefers voice. There's also use cases where chatting is just not practical or safe, right? Like driving, even walking, like people that are on their devices, like full on typing while they're walking down the street, doing whatever they're doing. It's just a lot easier, right? To have that voice conversation, and it's going to be improved overall, much less like the rash of carpal tunnel and tennis elbow that we've unleashed upon the population for all of the small texting constantly, right? My arm doesn't hurt when I talk, so that's really cool. So I think there's a lot of benefits to it, and most importantly is I don't have to learn a weird UI or phrases that pay or whatever, and I index all the knowledge around this company, and I get my answer. I get the solution. I think it does come back to if businesses are able to solve problems or help people, that business is probably going to be more successful. Its customers are going to like them more. They're going to spend more money with them. They're going to have higher net retention. So kind of bottom lining it to the business folks that are doing this, like make sure your customers are taken care of. I know that's what you want to do. Figure out how technology can do it, and where it can't do it full automation, how that technology can augment the humans that you're paying for in your business, how that technology can hand them the right problems with the right background to do the right things.
Yeah. When you think about it, broadly speaking, right, most businesses operate during normal business hours, right? And you might have some kind of a follow the sun where you have a call center that's offshore or whatever. But for many businesses, it's like a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, essentially, right? But the consumer has learned over the years, certainly since COVID, but arguably even before that, from a behavioral standpoint, it's like, I want support on my channel of preference anytime I'm trying to do business with a company, and you're really solving for that problem. And I would imagine increasing the rate of resolution, decreasing things like human call time, not to replace humans, but to augment them, kind of bring the handle time down and let the human beings deal, at least today, with the more sophisticated, more nuanced, more complicated, more heated issues, rather than taking all of the routine questions and calls that come in every single day.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Air's taking all those calls, making sure they get to a right place. It can reach out to off hours contacts if needed. From a routing perspective, pretty soon it's going to be able to take even more actions. Schedule an appointment. Help customers really connect with that business to drive revenue and connectivity to that business, not just during the air conversation, but in follow-up conversations. So there's a huge promise. And it applies to big businesses, small business, like all types. But you can imagine in the small business front, like trying to staff a dedicated receptionist to answer the phone, even during business hours, can be a challenge.
Yeah.
And then you get to off hours, or if most of my folks are plumbers and they're out actually fixing stuff, kind of hard to like, hey, I got water spraying all over the place. Let me make sure I take that call so I don't miss my next appointment.
And they may not be the right guys to answer the questions anyway, right?
Probably not. Depends on
tonality, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Can't, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally got it. And look, again, it's optimizing for skill set, right? And most importantly, what is that consumer or customer trying to get from that business? Like, you go back to the root of it. I'm calling because it's an opportunity for that business. I'm trying to solve a problem. I'm trying to do all this stuff. Great. As a business, I want to know all that. So I want to take care of the problem. And then, for me, I just love the analytics. Like, we use Air at RingCentral, and we see the analytics, like how many people are calling, what are they calling about? Do we have the knowledge to answer the FAQs and all the other stuff? And so we can continuously improve. And so, our goal is to have Air approach like 80% resolving the calls, right? Like,
how's that compared to human, by the way?
Yeah, humans are about 80 to 90%. Here's the thing. There's a wide difference. I know nobody has ever experienced this on calling into a business where I just did this with a large provider. It was like, I'm just going to say, hey, I've got to run and hang up, and I'm going to call back, play the agent roulette and see if I do better the next time. We can kind of normalize all that, right? Like, you can get a very consistent experience, and it's not necessarily people's fault. Like, you call somebody, you hit them on their first day versus somebody that's been in the business 3 years or 30 years.
That's incredibly damaging potentially for a brand, right? Or for a business. And,
sure.
Being able to provide a consistent experience every single time a customer reaches out is an incredible value proposition.
Yeah. And you control that as well, right? Like, has anybody ever asked you a question where you didn't quite know, but you went ahead and leaned into it and made up an answer? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're all off. Well,
we've always been wrong. 80% of the time, Geoff and I are wrong, but definitely.
Yeah. So you're a business owner.
We lose our hair. We realize,
Yeah. You're a business owner, and your newest, greenest, least knowledgeable employee just answered a question could be a very high potential customer, right? Or maybe that answer actually committed the companies to something. And there's been all this stuff around agentic AI where, somebody sold a truck for $10, whatever. That's not what Air does.
That's what a Cybertruck's worth. I'm sorry.
The resale values are volatile. But at the end of the day, it's only going to answer in that way. And it's not like you have to sit down and let me think of every single question somebody could ever ask. No. Where's all your info today? Point us to it. You got to make sure info's right. Make sure your business hours are updated, all of that stuff. If you change something, if you're going to be off on the 4th of July, tell somebody, right?
Right.
So that Air can do that. But you know that it's going to give the answer that your business has approved and wants out to your customers. And again, it's better than humans, better than some, not as good as others, right? It just kind of depends on experience, consistency. But the thing you get is that consistency. So you have that baseline, you can do your analytics on that baseline, and then you can always improve the filtration rate or the answer rate or the resolution rate.
How does it work from a cybersecurity standpoint or just a regulatory compliance standpoint for protecting PII and
Yeah.
maintaining all of that kind of safe consumer and even business interaction?
Yeah. So look, data security is critical. Our company is a B2B company. We sell to businesses for businesses to talk to their customers. It's not a social activity, right? So we're very, very clear. Data privacy, we never use customer data to train our AI models. We don't take your data and put it anywhere. So your business conversations are yours. We aren't figuring that out and then passing that on to all of your competitors that happen to use RingCentral. So we just follow a zero data retention policy, meaning the AI inputs and outputs exist only in memory for the purpose of the transaction to serve the request, and then they're gone. So we're not storing people's, if somebody, you don't want them to, but if somebody just says, hey, let me give you my full social and credit card information, we're not storing that and making that a liability for your business. And I think the other thing, at least from our standpoint, we've been in business 26 years. This is not something we had to create for the AI age because we've had access to billions of minutes of conversations and recordings and all of this stuff. We've had these policies in place for a long time. And we know that that is one of the reasons businesses trust RingCentral is we earn that trust by protecting their information and making sure it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So do you think, like going back to our earlier thread about Silicon Valley approaches versus established tech player that's intelligently integrating this into the actual use case and problem set, do you think that security approach is kind of natural and obvious for you because you've already been working with these guys? They already demand that kind of level of security. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about from the other side, I saw one of our friends, iLevel, for Greg's context. It's a good company, do a lot of RAG-based work, but they started offering private instances and non-connected executions of LLMs for organizations, right? And that screams government, that screams highly secure environments like banks, institutions of that nature. And it seems like almost all these startups have had to relearn the lessons that we who have been in the tech space have known for a long time with security and privacy. Can you speak to that a little bit about how that like maturation on that side just helps you really get into AI and doing this naturally well?
Yeah. And I think that's why I mentioned, like, we're a B2B company, right? We don't really have, consumer practices where we need to we got to give away a bunch of free tech to fund that. I got to sell all your data to somebody, and it's free, but it's not free. Whether it's free to you or not depends on who it gets sold to and what the implications of that are down the line. So I think it's extremely natural, right? When I look at the top verticals we serve at RingCentral, I mean, they're essentially healthcare, financial services, retail, and government, right? All have compliance measures, right? You have FINRA and FinServ and HIPAA in healthcare and PII and payment information for retail, like all of those things. Those are built into the platform because companies want that with any service that they're buying. And because we serve large businesses that put us through data privacy regulations and negotiations and all, and we're a cloud platform, when we make those updates and improvements over the years, over the 26-year history of the company, that's available to every business. So a small business with 5 employees is getting the same data protection as a 40,000 seat deployment of RingCentral at a large retailer. And that's super cool. That's one of the things our company's always done is we don't necessarily go, hey, we're going to segregate our customers, and this group, we're going to do all kinds of stuff to their data on because we can make money over here. This group, they're more important. They have lawyers. So we're not going to do that. And, like you can look, and sometimes even companies in our space have kind of made missteps in this direction. I'll let you use whatever AI chatbot to go look up a couple of them. and to see what they've done as they've introduced AI policies and privacy policies, because they think, oh, look, what a great idea. Look at all of these video meeting minutes we have that we could train these AI models, and look at how much how valuable that would be. Or we share it with Facebook because we created a Facebook login for our freemium platform during the pandemic and to get the app out there. But now, like, that also has a hook so that Facebook can do targeted advertising. So we've just never done it. So we've never had to think about how to undo it. We've just always been thinking about like treating businesses like the way we would want to be treated, and how those businesses want to treat their customers. And we know, like, you shouldn't need an army of lawyers to go through our contract to make sure your information is protected and your customer's information is protected.
Well, there's this guy, Sam, I'd like to introduce you to kind of talk him straight on this. All jokes aside, people may pick up that reference, but I mean, I want to talk a little bit about the future because we're kind of running out of time. And you talked about future appointment scheduling and just generally where the customer service segment's going. Can you say, like, in 3 years, or maybe just opine where you see this space going in 3 years for RingCentral and the larger customer service space, if I could?
Yeah. So 3 years, I don't know, we didn't talk about my background a lot. I did not come from technology. I actually built the go-to-market and sales engine at RingCentral. So I am a practical person. So 3 years is a long time in this space, especially with all this stuff happening now. So I'll just say, hey, where do I think things are going? The timeline is extremely variable, right, on how quickly things go to market. We think our approach about being open and leveraging an ecosystem and agents and AI are going to help us get there much faster and serve customers' interests much faster. And we'll kind of see. But you kind of are going to see a lot of different things. You're going to see AI agents that handle kind of all of the routine inquiries, password resets, order status, basic troubleshooting, all of those things. That's going to free up people to handle the things that require emotional intelligence. Some of those extremely happy customers or extremely upset customers on how they want to go. Kind of like ticket transactional resolution. It's almost this concept of anything that could be handled in one quick phone call, AI should be able to handle, right? Like things where you've actually got to take in a ticket and go, wait a minute, I've got to go actually put in a feature request to be able to do that. Like, we're going to need a human for that. It'd be good to filter out password reset tickets from, I've got this great idea that could revolutionize my business feature request tickets, right? And we can do that like right up front. So we get those people to the right folks. So they're not having to deal with the tier 1 or tier 0 that handles password reset. They're actually talking to tier 3, or even better, a tailored customer service role that knows the account or has all the knowledge fed to it, out of CRM or wherever, that can actually have a strategic conversation with the account. So think anything that's tactical, quick, can be done in one call, even like a 15-minute, 20-minute call. If it can be done in one call, you're not changing the software. You're not rewriting your business's policies. You're applying what you've already got to that particular customer. AI is going to be extremely good for that. And I don't think we're going to have to wait 3 years. I think that's going to come very quickly. And that's going to put the folks, the humans in the business that are supporting customers, into position of being more strategic, knowing about the business, really understanding more about their customers, and being able to have things served up like, hey, you're talking to Mr. Miller. Remember, Mr. Miller has 3 daughters. Here are the gifts they bought over the last 12 months. Handle Mr. Miller's question, but your daughter Sally's birthday is coming up in a month. Can I help you with that? That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
AI can maybe do some of that, but not with the empathy and the emotional intelligence of a human, at least not at this point. Now, 3 years out, maybe, but I think at least on the short-term roadmap, we still need the emotional intelligence and really understanding kind of what people are trying to accomplish overall when you're talking about bigger goals, when you get beyond the transactional.
Greg, any final thoughts before we wrap?
What I'm hearing is, from your perspective, from a vision standpoint, you're looking ahead to certainly a hybrid organization, right? Where agentic AI is supplementing, augmenting, complementing what a human agent does. And I'm hearing something really important in that. So I'd love to get your, a quick response on this and tell me if I'm on or off or whatever as it relates to kind of what you're seeing living in the space. But we talked a little bit earlier about the variability of the human agent, right? And that's just a natural reality. And I know, having done work with organizations that are struggling with customer service and support, that a lot of times, for better or for worse, it's not a good thing. I mean, so I guess it's for worse, the customer support function is not a great function to be in a lot of times, right? It's high stress, a lot of just not good stuff about being in that role. So it sounds to me like this is, on top of everything else, an opportunity for people in those kinds of roles to elevate the kind of work they're doing, be more engaged in their work, be more satisfied, happier at work, which again, to me, circles back to better experience for the customer, not just for the customer service agent. And to me, that's a real win-win for an organization, for the people that live in the organization, and I guess a win-win-win for the people that do business with that organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's think about what really irritates people, right? It's in the process. It's essentially either not getting my question answered or having to re-authenticate, tell bunches of people, different people, I'm getting transferred, I'm not getting to the right person. On your fourth transfer and they go, hey, welcome to our business. Who are you? Let me get your password. And then, hey, what's your problem? And you go, okay, this is the fourth person I've told this to. It's not fair to that person.
Right.
But they, like you said, they normally bear the brunt of it. So how about we have a conversation right up front where the AI receptionist or the AI agent is solving 80% of the problems that come. Okay, now we're down to 20. So now, if I can put the right problem with the right person, I got a really high resolution rate. So I'm not going through 4 different people because I'm learning, I'm capturing the entire time. So I'm trying to solve the problem, but I'm not putting up a barrier to get you to the right person, because now as the AI agent, my job is to get you to the right person, not just play you out on the phone and see how long I can keep you talking and trying different random stuff. It's very specific. So, okay, I've made a couple of attempts to solve your problem. It doesn't look like I'm able to. So I'm going to put you to this person, not the billing queue, ideally, right? Again, every business has a right to set it up the way they want, but ideally what you want to do is you want to zero in on what's the problem and have a better idea of what are the skills that are going to be required. And look, and by the way, if I'm talking to this AI agent in Spanish, transfer me to somebody that speaks Spanish. Like little simple stuff like that can really lower the temperature. So if we get a quicker resolution and we don't get that quick resolution, we get to the right person that now, instead of doing password resets all day, they're handling customers. They know it's going to be in this zone because this is what Air doesn't handle. So if I get a transfer from Air, it's most likely not going to be about business hours or password reset. It's going to be about something else. And I'm taking that customer information along with me. Again, I could be collaborating with Agentforce if that's their CRM, pulling in customer data, customer history, some likely things, some likely triggers for that customer, and really help that human have a productive conversation. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't help to be frustrated with an agent that's just trying to help you. But again, like on your 4th or 5th attempt, you get there, right? Everybody's got stuff to do. So I think this is going to have a huge benefit for the people calling in and the agents on the other side, as well as the businesses that are using the service.
Very good. I think we're out of time.
Yeah, it went by super fast.
It was pretty cool. And we even got a few jokes in too. I'm happy. No, it's really interesting what you guys are up to. And I really do see it right in that larger context of the way the internet's moving and the way people really want to use AI as opposed to the way we're maybe trying to use it today.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about the company. I've been here almost 10 years now. And the reason I'm here is we've got cool tech and it's innovative, but everything we do is super practical and we're still founder led. So we've never had to readjust and relearn stuff. It's like, how do we solve problems And if we solve customers' problems, and that includes AI, it's got to solve a problem. It's got to be value added, not just a cool bell and whistle. Then our customers are going to take care of us because we're providing value. And it's just like any, I know it's super common sense, but I do think sometimes we get a little wrapped up in look how cool this use case is versus, hey, help somebody get connected to a business, solve their problem, and do business with that business so that everybody's happy. I'm happy I bought something. The business is happy you bought from me. And I did it in the easiest, most friction-free way possible. And if AI can help with that, 2 thumbs up, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're hitting on something that's important, and it's not just important empirically, but important to the people that listen to this show. Geoff and I work in the AI space day in and day out. There are a whole lot of solutions in search of a problem. And when you kind of look at it through the lens of real businesses and what real businesses want and what sort of not in a negative way, legacy businesses, companies that have been at it for decades, who know how to solve customer problems, you end up solving a customer problem, and technology happens to be part of the solution. So that's a very important thing. How can folks learn more about RingCentral? How can folks connect with you if they want to choose, if they choose to do that rather?
Yeah. So I'm really easy. Again, I've been here a little bit. Carson at RingCentral.com. Super easy, right? Don't even try to spell my last name. It's not helpful for you or me. But that's it. That's the best way to get in touch with me. You really want to make sure I see it. Download the RingCentral app for free. And direct message me inside the RingCentral app or RingCentral message. I can call you right back or video you back right in the app. So there's lots of ways to get in touch with me. You could call RingCentral's AIR, our AI Receptionist, see what they tell you if you've got a question that way, or, you can check us out on the web. But we're a pretty big presence on it. I'd love to hear from people directly on how I can help. People, this will go out on all kinds of social channels. So I try to follow those replies and help people out if they want additional context. But I really appreciate the questions and how you guys really get it, right? Like I'm not pitching like, look how cool this is you guys figured out. I'm saying, hey, how many businesses do you work with that have receptionists? Wouldn't it be cool if those receptionists were always available all the time and gave you consistent answers that helped you do business with those businesses? So it kind of sells itself, right? Because it's not inventing something. It's optimizing and making something better that is very necessary with almost every business on the planet. So love to hear from folks and really appreciate y'all.
Awesome. And for anybody that wants general information about RingCentral, that's of course ringcentral.com. You can learn about AIR and all of your other solutions there. We will have links on our website, nobrainerpodcast.com, in the show notes for anybody who needs them. They will be there. And that brings us to the end of the show and all of the normal stuff we tell you to do at the end of the show. Dear listeners and viewers, first of all, Carson, whose last name we shall not attempt to spell or pronounce, we appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
By the way, I feel that way about my first name.
Everybody knows that's Geoff, right? I mean,
that's Geoff. And we want to thank RingCentral, of course, for presenting this episode. Definitely appreciate that. For anybody, again, who's listened, who's gotten value out of this conversation, please be sure to subscribe to our channels. Be sure to provide ratings and reviews, to hit that thumbs up button, do all that kind of good stuff to help us juice the algorithms, and get the word out so that we are exposed to more people. We appreciate your listenership, your viewership, and the time you spend with us every couple of weeks. Thank you, Carson. Thank you, as always, Geoff. And we will see you all next time. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. We're out of here.
Bye now.